All right, so I have this question here from Godson. It's saying, is it advisable to borrow money to set up a business? Is it advisable to borrow money to set up a business? That's a good question, Godson. And there's a yes. It's a yes and no. A lot of times, I'll tell people to start with the no. I think it's an extreme measure to borrow money to start up a business. So you must really ask yourself, do I really need to borrow money to start up this business? Like I say, it's an extreme measure. It must be absolutely imperative, number one, to do that business. And it must be absolutely necessary to need that money. So it's something best avoided. It's something best avoided than something I would advise people to lean into. And one thing I really realize is a lot of people that borrow money to start a business, a lot of them don't really need to borrow money. The problem is that a lot of people want to start off a business exactly the way they dream it. That's usually the problem. A lot of people want to start up businesses exactly the way they dream it, how it's in their mind. So they want to start from the end point. And that pressures them to go out and try to get resources to make it picture perfect. But a business doesn't necessarily have to start out picture perfect. Doesn't. It doesn't start out picture perfect. And when you realize that, you realize you don't need to borrow money for most businesses, to start out most businesses, especially for someone who might be in the creative industry. You're a graphic designer, you're an illustrator, whatever it is. You don't need to start out like borrowing money from people to buy a laptop, get to get equipment, to get an office. You see, a lot of people start off that way. They're like, I need an office, I need a space. No, you don't. You can start off from your room. Start off from your room. I worked I worked from my room for a very long time, and it was, the call for me has come kind of full circle. Um, I worked from my bedroom for a while, and after I realized there were some distractions from home, where when your parents realize you're accessible, they're not going to be able to like, go and help me do this, go and help me buy this. I had to leave, so I couldn't afford an office. So I was using a space, an available small space in my church. And I was just using a wooden chair and a wooden table. And I was doing a lot of incredible jobs from there, to be honest with you. If you look at my portfolio, a lot of the good work was done from that small space in my church, and my church allowed me to use for a while. And then after a while, I got an office space, which was a pretty good office space. And I worked there for a while. And after a while, with all that went on with the pandemic and stuff like that, I'm back working at home. You understand? And it's more convenient for me. I don't think I'm going back to the office to work anymore. You understand? But the thing is that I'm still getting to do good work. So you see, there is no need for you to borrow money if you are willing to start small and grow into what you dream in your mind. So the the reality is, start with what you have. If what you have is good enough, then don't go a borrowing, please. Borrowing puts a lot of pressure on you, just the same way business puts a lot of pressure on you. It's hard enough to deal with business pressure. You don't want to add having someone you borrowed money putting pressure on you again. Because what borrowing does is that it forces you to want to grow fast and to have results fast. But from my years of doing business, I realized you cannot guarantee fast results in business. And you cannot guarantee that your business would be at a particular stage at a particular time. Of course, some people do have it. They start up businesses and they become mega profitable after a few months. Some people become mega profitable after a couple of years. You never know where you are going to fall into. And the truth is that the creditor wants a timeline. And that means you are going to be forced to grow within that timeline. And that's why a lot of people that start businesses go into hiding after a while, because when that timeline expires, they haven't grown in the way that they've promised the creditor, or to the point that they promised the creditor that they're going to grow to. So you need to think, do I really need to borrow money to start this business? You can start small. I spoke to a designer friend of mine some time ago, and she was telling me how she got into design and how she started out. She said she started out with no laptop. I started out with no laptop. I started out using my dad's laptop. She started out with no laptop. She didn't have a dad's laptop to go to. So she was using her neighbor's laptop, whose laptop was only available when he came back from work at night around 11. So around 11, she would get his laptop and use it all night and have to get it back to him by 5 o'clock. So she wasn't sleeping. But now she has set up a pretty successful company and she's doing pretty well. You understand? But she did it without having to borrow money. You understand? So you must be willing to say, what are the resources I have to start this business? To start small and to grow into what I dream for it to be. You should always consider those options first before thinking, I need to borrow money to start up this business. And you realize that most of us that think we need to borrow money, you really don't need to borrow money. We just need to be able to have a dream and be willing to start up small while we work towards that dream.